Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're jumping into a sector that's really changing things up. It's not just growing fast, it's fundamentally reshaping how businesses work, how governments function, even how, we use technology every day. We're talking about the global cloud computing technologies market. And this isn't just tech jargon, servers, and code anymore, is it? It feels much more fundamental, like the actual plumbing of the digital world.
That's exactly right, yeah. Cloud computing has really gone way beyond being like an IT department upgrade. It's now the core infrastructure. It powers pretty much every significant digital transformation effort you see happening anywhere. And the numbers, well, the growth figures we'll look at, they tell a really compelling story. It's not just expansion, it's an acceleration.
Right, and acceleration. So our mission today is basically to sift through all the latest market analysis. We want to pull out the key insights for you, give you a clear picture of where cloud tech is right now, and maybe more importantly, where it's actually headed. Okay, let's unpack this then. So let's kick off with the undeniable big picture. This staggering growth in the global cloud market. I mean, looking at these figures, it's obvious this is a massive shift, not just some passing trend.
Oh, absolutely spot on. Back in 2021, the global market for cloud computing technologies was valued at $63.888 billion, a solid number. But it's the speed of change that's really striking. By 2025, it's expected to nearly double. We're talking $124.9 billion. And then looking out to 2033, the forecast is just huge, $477.369 billion. That's growing at a compound annual growth rate, a CAGR, of 18.246%. Really impressive.
Wow.
And it's not just about moving old stuff to the cloud. Companies are investing heavily now in new cloud-native apps, AI, scalable global setups. They're choosing agility.
Over 18%, the Cambrai CAGR, for more than 10 years.
Yeah.
In a market already worth tens of billions. That really speaks volumes, doesn't it, about the confidence everyone has in the cloud. It shows just how deep this digital transformation push is, like everywhere, across all industries.
Exactly. It tells us the big question isn't if companies should move to the cloud anymore. It's really how fast they can do it and how completely. We're seeing huge investments in PaaS, platform as a service, and SaaS, software as a service. These let companies develop and roll things out super fast alongside the basic IaaS, the infrastructure as a service. So yeah, it means businesses aren't just digitizing what they already did, they're rethinking what's even possible, using analytics, deploying AI, stuff like that.
Fascinating stuff. So globally, it's all about rapid acceleration. But the really interesting bits are often in the details, right? Where this growth is happening, how it's happening. Are the patterns similar everywhere, or are there, different regional approaches? Let's maybe start with North America. They've always been kind of ahead of the curve on cloud adoption.
North America is definitely still a powerhouse, yeah. In 2021, it generated nearly $25 billion in sales revenue. That's $24.98 billion. That's set to rise to about $48 billion by 2025. And by 2033, the projection is $177.581 billion. So it's growing at a KGR of 17.759%, still very strong. A lot of that comes from adopting early, having the big hyperscalers based there, and just a strong innovation drive in finance, tech, entertainment.
And within North America, obviously the U.S. is the giant. But Canada and Mexico are growing fast, too. Are they just following the U.S. playbook, or do they have their own distinct drivers?
That's a good question. The U.S. is projected to go from around $20.4 billion in 2021 all the way up to $143 billion by 2033. That's a CIGR of 17.626%. It's got that mature market, the startup scene, big companies adopting it. That drives a lot. Canada, though, is also on a really strong path. From $2.4 billion up to nearly $19 billion by 2033. That's an 18.648% CAGR, higher than the U.S., actually.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, they're seeing real strength in areas like fintech and AI. And Mexico, starting from about $2.2 billion in 2021, is projected to hit almost $16 billion, $15.734 billion by 2033. That's a CAGR of 17.943%. Also very strong. For Mexico, it's things like more foreign investment, booming e-commerce, and the government pushing digital services. So yeah, influenced by the U.S. for sure, but both Canada and Mexico are definitely writing their own cloud stories based on their economies.
Okay, let's hop across the Atlantic. Europe also seeing rapid expansion in cloud. But I wonder, how does Europe's unique regulatory environment, things like GDPR, data sovereignty concerns, how does that affect cloud adoption compared to, say, North America?
That's a really key point for Europe, definitely. The overall European market was about $12.65 billion back in 2021, forecasted to hit $24.1 billion by 2025, and then $88.791 billion by 2033. That's a solid CAGR too, 17.701%. But yes, the regulations absolutely shape how companies use the cloud there. You see a lot more interest in hybrid cloud models or using regional data centers to make sure they're compliant, which actually creates interesting openings for local cloud providers who specialize in those specific compliance needs.
Right, and what's fascinating is drilling down into the individual countries in Europe. Some are showing really powerful growth.
Oh, absolutely. Take the UK. It's set to grow from $2.1 billion in 2021 to over $15.423 billion by 2033. That's an 18% CAGR fueled by strong finance and creative sectors. Germany is even stronger, $2.6 billion up to $19.5 billion by 2033. That's a CAGR of 18.458%. Very high. Driven by their manufacturing strength, that whole Industry 4.0 smart factory push using cloud and IoT.
Makes sense.
Then you have France, also significant.
Yeah.
$1.5 billion up to nearly $10 billion. 16.998% CGR, lots of government support there. Italy, similar size projection to France, actually. $1.47 billion up to $9.96 billion by 2033. That's a 17.365% CAGR. You see it in their design and fashion industry sometimes. Even Russia, starting smaller at $2.68 billion, is expected to reach over $4 billion, 16% CAGR. And Spain, growing from just under $1 billion to almost $7 billion by 2033. That's an 18% CAGR, helped by tourism and services.
And it's not just the big economies, the Nordics, Switzerland. They're punching above their weight too, aren't they?
They really are.
Yeah.
Sweden, known for innovation, goes from $0.67 billion to nearly $5 billion, about an 18% CAGR. Denmark, often ahead in digital government, from $0.43 billion to almost $3 billion, 17.3% CAGR. Switzerland, with its strong financial sector, $0.64 billion up to over $4 billion, 17% CAGR. Even tiny Luxembourg, often a data hub, goes from $0.164 billion to over $1 billion, still a 16.6% CAGR. And then the rest of Europe category collectively goes from $1.4 billion to nearly $10 billion by 2033, also around 17.7% CAGR. So it really shows broad, diverse adoption right across the continent.
Okay, let's shift our gaze now. Asia Pacific. This region really stands out, doesn't it? Arguably the fastest growing for cloud tech. What's behind that incredible speed? Is it that leapfrogging thing we sometimes hear about where they skip older tech and go straight to cloud?
That is a huge part of it, yes. APAC started at around $16.7 billion in 2021. It's set to more than double that by 2025, hitting $33.8 billion. But then it just takes off. The projection for 2033 is almost $138 billion and $137.96 billion. And the CAGR is 19.228%. That's the highest of any major region we're looking at here. And yeah, the leapfrogging is totally real. Many businesses, even whole economies, are going mobile first, cloud first. They're not building out massive traditional data centers like older economies did. Plus, just the sheer scale of the population and the explosion of digital native businesses, those are massive drivers.
That's phenomenal growth. So which countries are really the engines in APAC? What are the stories there?
It's a really impressive list. China, of course, is huge, expected to go from $4.8 billion in 2021 to over $40 billion, $40.491 billion by 2033. That's a 19.458% EGR, driven by that massive consumer market, rapid digitization everywhere. But India actually has the single highest country growth rate in this whole data set.
Really?
Yeah. From $2.5 billion in 2021, projected to hit $22.6 billion by 2033. That's an incredible CGR of 20.121%.
20%.
20%. It's powered by, the booming startup scene, huge government digital infrastructure projects, and just a massive young workforce needing cloud tools. Japan's also strong, $2.7 billion to over $21 billion, 18.5% CAGR. More about modernizing existing enterprises there. South Korea, $1.6 billion to $12.4 billion, 18.6% CAGR. They lead in things like gaming, smart cities. Australia, about $1 billion to $7.3 billion, 18% CAGR. Strong in mining, finance. Singapore is really interesting, $7.7 billion to $6 billion.
Okay, so we've covered the big established players, the hyper-growth regions, but let's not forget the other really important emerging markets. They're also showing serious momentum in cloud. South America, the Middle East, Africa, they're all making big moves. What are the different drivers we see in these diverse areas?
Yeah, these regions hold immense potential. South America as a whole, starting at nearly $4 million in 2021, $3.961 billion, growing to almost $8 billion by 2025, and projected to hit over $30.657 billion by 2033. That's a CAGR of 18.577%. Very healthy. Here, growth comes a lot from digital banking, e-commerce, and modernizing those traditional resource-based industries. Key countries: Brazil is big, $1.6 billion up to almost $12 billion, 18.4% CAGR. Argentina, actually showing a slightly higher CAGR, 19.1%, from $0.75 billion up to over $6 billion. Lots of startup activity there. And Colombia, Peru, Chile, they're all digitizing quickly too.
And the Middle East, I imagine the push for economic diversification plays a big role there.
Exactly. Diversifying away from oil is a huge catalyst for cloud adoption. The market there was worth about $3.2 billion in 2021, expected to hit $6.3 billion in 2025, and projected at $24.4 billion by 2033. That's an 18.456% CAGR. Governments are investing massively in things like smart cities, digital transformation programs. Saudi Arabia really stands out, $0.85 billion up to $6.5 billion, and 18.55% CAGR. Tied directly to their Vision 2030 plan, Turkey and the UAE also show really strong growth. CAGR is over 18.8%. They're focused on building tech hubs, digital services.
In Africa, often mobile first, right?
Very much so. That mobile-first approach really characterizes a lot of the digital adoption in Africa. The region started at $2.36 billion in 2021, set to reach $4.8 billion in 2025, and then projected up to nearly $18 billion, $17.954 billion by 2033. That's a CAGR of 17.805%. Things like fintech and mobile money are enormous drivers there, and they rely heavily on cloud for scale. Nigeria projected to grow from about $0.4 billion to over $3 billion, and South Africa from just under $1 billion to $7.4 billion by 2033. They're really leading the way in connecting millions of people to digital services, many for the first time.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of numbers, a lot of regions. Let's try and bring it all together. A global market surging past $477 billion by 2033. Consistent double-digit growth pretty much everywhere. What does this all really mean for you listening right now and just for the world around us? What's the big takeaway?
I think the key takeaway is really crystal clear now. Cloud computing technologies, they're not just some optional IT spend anymore. Not by a long shot. They are fundamentally becoming the adaptable, scalable backbone of the entire global economy. Every single industry, entertainment, healthcare, manufacturing, finance, you name it, is being redefined by how well it can use the cloud. For agility, for data insights, for innovating quickly, that universal double-digit growth we see, it's not just about money. It reflects this relentless shift. A shift towards business models that basically need the flexibility and power that only the cloud can give them.
Yeah. And those places with particularly explosive growth, like India, Southeast Asia, it really shines a light on where the future of digital innovation is going to be incredibly dynamic, powered by things like serverless computing, AI as a service, new paradigms built on the cloud. It seems obvious that cloud-enabled innovation is just going to define the next decade. It'll transform how we work, live, interact, probably on a scale we're only just starting to grasp. It really implies that if your business isn't actively thinking about and using cloud tech, well, the gap between you and your competitors is just going to get wider and faster. So we've taken quite a journey today, haven't we, through the global cloud computing market. It really highlights how pervasive this technology is, how truly transformative it's become. It's clear it's not just a trend. It's a fundamental shift in how the world works and creates value.
And that, it raises a really important question to think about. If cloud computing really is the backbone of the global economy now, how might its continued growth reshape industries we just take for granted? Think about logistics, supply chains, even personalized medicine. How could cloud change those in ways we can barely imagine today?
That's a powerful thought to leave you with. Definitely food for thought, hinting at the huge ripple effects of all this data. We really encourage you to consider what these trends mean for your own life, your own work. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive.